Yes, good morning and welcome to the program Know Your Rights on Lagoon Radio. Is our legal program where we educate you on your fundamental rights. I am Anosi Kechimeze, your regular host on the program. Today, Friday, the 24th day of June 2022, and it's 18 minutes gone past the hour of 9. We are just 3 minutes behind schedule. Pardon us for that. But for the rest of the we will be here to educate you, and I believe you will enjoy it and you will be educated. Yes, and today we are looking at legal safeguards to avoid for avoiding Ponzi investments. Yes, civil safeguards, legal safeguards for avoiding Ponzi investments. And remember, you can download our app on Google Play Store and Apple Store. You can also follow us on our social media platforms. Of course, we are live on Facebook at Lagoon Radio Nigeria and Twitter and Instagram, Lagoonradio.Ng. And this morning, I'm not alone in the studio. I have a corporate finance lawyer, Uche Matthew Esquire. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Nice to be here.
Okay, when we talk about Ponzi, because in recent past we've been hearing about Ponzi, and a lot of people doesn't know what the Ponzi is all about. What is this Ponzi scheme?
Okay. Ponzi scheme is a phrase in corporate finance you can use to describe any illegal financial investment platform or program in which people are promised massive return on investments, which I could describe as unrealistic. So such investment platforms that are unregistered, that are not regulated by law, and so once those investment schemes are illegal, not regulated by any provisions of the law, then it becomes a Ponzi scheme, especially where they are promising you massive return on investments, which are not realistic based on the economic terms in the country.
Okay, when you say illegal, are there Ponzi schemes that are legal?
No, no Ponzi scheme is legal
Oh,
because the fact that it is Ponzi implies that it is illegal. It's illegality. Like we say, there is fake because there is original.
oh,
Right? So it simply means that there are certain investment schemes that are original, regulated by law, and permitted by law. So I will give examples. We have what we call capital market fund managers. We had what we call investment schemes regulated by law. The CBN, the Security and Exchange Commission approved such companies. So what such companies do, we call them capital market operators. You can buy you can buy into their portfolios, you can buy into their investments. They take money from you, allowed by law, and then they make investments on your behalf. And afterwards, they give you back interest based on the agreeable terms. Those are the companies that are regulated and allowed by law. Now, the difference is this: those companies are operating legally, they operate based on economic conditions of the country. So the return on investment is never high. So sometimes in a year you get like 2%, 3%, 4%, depending on how lucrative the portfolio is. But because of trying to mimic those guys who are regulated by law, the legitimate company guys, the fake guys have also come into the business and now tell you that give us 100,000 of your money every month. We'll give you like 20% of it, 30% of it, which is unrealistic when you take into cognizance the economic condition that we are in as a country. What kind of business will somebody do with your money and in a month he's giving you 30% on return of such kind of business?
okay. But why do people invest in those Ponzi schemes?
Very vital question. My research have shown that if you get 100 people in a room in Nigeria today, you find out that 60 to 70% of them have tried something like this. Now, I will give you reasons. One, there is a tough economic condition in the country now. And if you do your research and check very well, you'll find out that Ponzi schemes, or what the CBN would describe as illegal financial operators, they tend to have a feed day when there is recession in the country. When there is economic downturn and people are looking for where to make more money, so somebody comes to you and now offers you something cheap and say to you, just give me 100,000 of your money and sleep in your house. By the weekend, I'm going to give you like 150K. So it looks like it's so economic recession is a factor that encourages people to put their money into Ponzi schemes because yeah, everybody wants to invest, everybody wants to have returns. And then the quick return they also promise is another factor. Massively, when someone promises you that if you put in your money at so rate, at so time, you get double of the money, like the money doublers we see on the streets of Lagos. Now, but in this instance, they come in corporate packaged, how like the corporate packaged entities, and most of them even have offices. Most of them even have marketers. And one trend that has also really happened in Lagos and in Nigeria particularly is that some of these guys even have what they call celebrities and popular people as influencers. So in case whereby you see a Nollywood actress telling you on her page on Instagram that she has invested 2 million and in less than a month she has gotten 4 million. So all her followers will like, wow, if my star celebrity is doing this, I can do the same thing. So it's a factor that has now encouraged this thing to blossom. And then you won't take away the poverty factor in the country. Where there is massive poverty, people will always want to get out of poverty. So what do? They have little money in their hands, and they believe that with this little money they can buy their way out of poverty. Remember, you can invest your way out of poverty when you invest properly, but not when you try to double your way out of poverty through such funds.
Okay, now remember you are still listening to Know Your Rights. This is our legal program on Lagoon Radio. And to join the conversation, you can call us on 0818 9524 666. 0818 9524 666. And you can also drop your comments on our social media platforms on Facebook, Lagoon Radio Nigeria. Of course, we are live. And on Twitter and Instagram, is Lagoon Radio.Ng. Now, Barrister, looking at this, when we talk about legal safeguards, and just like you rightly mentioned, in Nigeria, in fact, it is said that we are close to becoming the poverty capital of the world. And you cannot take these things away. So, what are those legal safeguards to avoid investing in that Ponzi?
Okay, so with the prevalence of Ponzi scheme in Nigeria over the years, I mean, the very popular, prominent one was the MMM, and I'm sure everybody knows about it. So the government got concerned through the regulatory agencies, the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and even the Economic and Financial Crime Commission and other agencies. So they got concerned about this, and because it's spread across broad, bringing about poverty, bringing about bringing about people getting angry, even people committing suicide. There were factors like that in the society. So the government has always had in place laws that they try to put in place to ensure that these people don't have a fit day. The problem is this: people are ignorant about these laws. People don't tend to invest properly. People don't tend to consult experts to assist them when they make investments. And secondly, these things strive in secrecy. People just want to make money without letting anybody know how they make this money. And then in those cases, these guys always have a fit day. So when you're talking about legal framework, I'll just put us through some sections of the law so as not to sound too legalistic. I know, for example, Section 67 sub 1 of the Investment and Securities Act clearly provides that no person shall make any invitation to the public to acquire or dispose of any securities of a body corporate, or also to deposit money without that body corporate being registered. Now, what this simply means is that this section of the law is saying if you are a private company, that is not a bank, you have no right collecting money from the public with the promise of an interest. Now, if you look through all of these companies, they are always private companies, and they are not a bank. So that means they are in breach of this section of the law. So anybody who is collecting money from you and telling you that he will give you a return at a fixed rate when he's not a bank, when it's not a fund manager licensed by the Securities and Exchange Commission. So these are loopholes that once you see these things, once these guys come to you and advertise these things to you with all the lucrative offers, these are questions you have to ask them. Are you licensed? Are you registered by the Central Bank? Are you registered by the SEC? So when these questions cannot be answered, you just know that these guys belong to this scheme, this category of illegal financial operators. Okay, secondly, there's an act called the Banking and Financial Institutions Act, recently amended in 2020. The act also says that nobody is permitted to carry on any form of financial business in Nigeria when such a company is not duly registered by the Central Bank, where that company does not hold a valid license by the required regulators. So these guys have none of this. So these are certain safeguards that you need to ask them. So ask questions before you invest. These are questions that you need to ask, and then you need to understand that these things are not possible. And then you will also find out that there are case laws. When I mean case laws, I mean decided decisions that have happened in the courts. We've had instances where some people have taken some of these guys to court, or some of these companies to court, in a bid to recover their money. And I'll give you a popular case. This is a very popular case because the person involved in this case is even a lawyer. There's a case, in the case of Mekume versus Lotus Capital Limited. What happened in this case is that this person invested in what was called a telecom private equity fund. Now, another instruction for people: these funds are sometimes labeled in very good packages. Yeah, private equity. You hear terms like private equity funds, and like I said in the beginning of the program, they are trying to mimic the original. The originals are those guys licensed by CBN. They have what they call equity funds. Now, in this particular case, this man took them to court because they sold the package to him, and at the end of the day, it became unrealistic. So the court now looked at the entire terms and conditions of the process, and the court declared that this is a Ponzi scheme because it was an instrument of fraud. In most instances, they've promised you high returns just to get your interest. So this had enough legal safeguard that the law has put in place. And I also know that recently, as much as May 2022, the current National Assembly is currently trying to pass a law to put some safeguards to these things. And one of the things they try to do is to amend the current Investment and Security Act. And one of the critical amendments they are trying to bring in now is to ensure that there is a jail term for people who get involved in this investment scheme. So this bill is currently before the National Assembly to ensure that illegal promoters and operators of Ponzi schemes are jailed in Nigeria at least up to 10 years. Because you should find from our record, many persons who have been involved in these things have not ended up in jail. They've always, yes, the criminal conviction rate for people who promote Ponzi scheme in Nigeria is very, very low. And I think that is a factor that has encouraged many people to take up into such illegal activities.
Okay, someone said, good morning, Lagoon Radio, and good morning to your guest. Please, the only Ponzi scheme I know that is thriving in Nigeria is bring one people and add two people.
Yeah.
Please, how do I avoid these people? Especially, they are always on my DMs.
So when you say how do you avoid them, now I will tell you the way to avoid them. One other ways why Ponzi scheme also tend to tends to be wide is because people are not enlightened. Financial education in Nigeria is very low.
Sure.
Yeah, financial education is very low. People don't know about their financial literacy is very, very low in Nigeria. I mean, people go to school, people are educated. You'll be surprised that people who get took by these people are very educated people like you and I. So the question is this: please and please, because the person who is advertising this product to you of bring one, bring two, bring three, even if this person is your pastor, even if this person is your reverend, even if this person is your family member, it's no guarantee that it is working. I know there is level of trust between, certain people you trust, family members, spiritual guardians. Please and please always consult the experts. That's why we have financial experts. There are lawyers who are in this business. There are the stockbrokers who are in this business. You also have to ask questions. I mean, the CBN has tried to make this process easier. Even the SEC has tried to make this process easier. What have they done? If you go to the SEC website, there is a complete upload of every registered capital market operator in Nigeria. If you go to that website, you just click on the name, you just put up the name. If it doesn't come up, it shows you that these guys have no registration, they have no valid license to do business. So the fact that you have them in your DM, in fact you always have them on Facebook, in fact you always have them on Twitter, they're on your faces. These guys are operating. And the era of the internet has also made it very easier for these guys to operate. So because they can now sit back inside one room, like Yahoo boys would do, and just put up a scheme online, it is hard to track them down because they are just faceless online. So it gets into your face. You always find people come up with ridiculous testimonies of how I paid so amount of money yesterday, and in 3 days I'm making so much money. So please and please, when you get such offers, you need to ask questions. The questions you need to ask: are they valid? Are they licensed or registered? Then go online, go to the CBN website, go to the SEC website, make inquiries. If your inquiries are not enough, ask an expert. I mean, it's better than losing all of your money in such things.
Okay, another question, Ajibola, he asked. He said, please, Okay, please, barrister. I suspect that some of the shares that are being sold now are like Ponzi because I bought some 8 years back, but they are no longer there in their office. I have done all I could to get to them. Even their number is not going currently. He said he bought a share on.
Yes, I do a lot of capital markets litigation and at the IST, at the Investment and Securities Tribunal, and this is a recurring issue. We had a time in this country where we had the boom in the capital markets. Practically everybody was rushing into the capital markets, buying shares, and the questions we didn't ask are these same questions I've raised. No due diligence. Anybody just come up to you on the streets with a flyer and tell you buy so shares of this bank, buy so shares of this company, and in so and so years your shares will get to so level. You know, when these things when these things happens this way, it's the thing that happens is that these guys already have a plan that they are going to disappear, going to thin air. So if you are going to buy shares, please and please investigate, deal with experts to help you out. Now, for example, now those companies that you said you've bought their shares, you can't find them anymore. They wind up and they pack up and they leave the country because there is no track record. So that's the problem we have with those kind of people.
Okay, you're still listening to our legal program on Lagoon Radio, Know Your Rights. And today we are talking about legal safeguards for avoiding Ponzi investments. And we'll be talking to Barrister Uche Matthew. We'll go on this short break. When we come back, we'll look at the implications. And like he said, we'll look at also the judicial angle to this Ponzi scheme investments. Keep listening to us. We'll be right back. Okay, you're welcome back, and you're still listening to Know Your Rights, our legal program on Lagoon Radio, your number one online gospel radio in Nigeria and the official radio of the Anglican Diocese of Lagos, transmitting live from the Archbishop's Palace right here in Marina, Lagos. We are talking about legal safeguards for avoiding Ponzi investments. And our guest this morning has been, Barrister Uche Matthew. He's a corporate finance lawyer. Okay, on the other side, missing barrister with lawyer. What's the difference?
Okay, I will explain. They are one and the same thing. It's just that lawyer is a general term.
Okay.
For anybody who's called to the bar, and then barrister and solicitor. I'm sure you've heard of that.
Yes.
Where we got the law from is England, right? So it is expected that a barrister is someone who takes your matter to the courts, someone who does advocacy in courts. Why a solicitor is people like us who are corporate finance lawyers, people who don't naturally go to court, people who are more of the advisory parts.
Oh,
so that's the difference. So, but in Nigeria, because it's easier to just call the first part and say barrister. Barrister sounds more, I don't know.
It sounds more glorified.
It sounds more glorified and pleasant to the ear. So people just tend to stick with that.
Okay, back to the point. Now, you mentioned something. Okay, let's first of all look at that shares. Well, it's like you are a corporate finance lawyer.
Yeah, that's what I do.
So now it's like shares are diminishing in the Nigerian market. We no longer hear about that again.
A reflection of the economy.
Oh,
I mean, shares are interest in companies, right? And
yes.
what do companies do? Business. So if if the economy is not good enough for the companies to do business, what happens? It reflects. So and that's why the capital market in Nigeria is actually on a low slide now.
Oh, could it be that is what is giving rise to these Ponzi schemes?
It is a very big factor. One of the points I skipped, and thank God for you just brought it up, is this: the interest rates people get in shares are very low.
Oh,
The interest rate people get from government securities like treasury bonds and state government bonds are also very low compared to what is, like I said, there's original and then there's a fake. So these fake guys, these illegal or financial operators, now prey on this. So for example, if you're going to invest in a company, in a bank, and remember, not every time you buy shares in a bank or a company is a risk, in the sense that the company might not do well that year. And there is a part of the law that says that the company can only declare dividends, that's interest on your shares, only when they do well, or only when the board of directors feel like the company has done well. So there is no guarantee. Buying shares is a risky investment. Now somebody can buy shares, and in 4 years, 5 years, you've not seen any interest because the company has not turned over. So if you buy shares, it's more or less a case of saying, all of us here now, we are buying shares into bank ABC. So we are practically raising capital for the bank to do business.
oh,
And with the hope that at the end of the financial year of the bank will not tell you, for your shares, these are your interests.
okay.
Now,
On the religious term, we are sowing a seed.
you are sowing a seed with the hope of reaping. This is the gospel radio. So it is, if that seed you planted in the bank does not germinate
Oh,
and bear fruits, like Jesus said in scripture, you can't share in it.
oh,
So that's why. So it's possible to buy shares in a company, and 3, 4, 5 years you've seen nothing because the company has not done well. It is only somebody what has done well or that done well can give you an interest.
oh.
So that's why these illegal financial operators now come in. These guys we call Ponzi schemes. They tell you, why put your money in a bank and in 2, 3 years you've gotten nothing. My sister just did one now, and in a few weeks she got 35% interest. And there is proof. The way it works is a pyramid scheme.
Yes.
Take from Peter to rob Paul. So by first week, you get dividends, you get interest. Second week, you get interest. Your trust has been bought over by them. And then by the time you now go to bring bigger money and come in, they are gone. So that's why. So that's it. It's not as if shares are doing badly. It's just a reflection of the. It's just a reflection of the economy. I mean, the business, the ease of doing business, the economy is. I mean, you are in business, so the cost of doing business is high, and everything is getting high in the country. The inflation rate. So the turnover for the legitimate business guys are very low. Hence, these illegal guys always come in and make their mouth-watering offers, and people fall for it.
Okay. I have a discussion with someone last week. In fact, I'm trying to remember our discussion.
Yeah.
Now he now advised me that instead of investing, what do they call it in bank? Uh, it's just like fixed deposit.
Fixed deposit. Yeah.
There is the other one. Is it investment bond or something? Something.
Yeah.
He said it's better you go for the other one than fixed deposit or going for shares right now. So, as a financial advisor, what would be your advice on that?
It depends. For fixed deposit, I was advising a client recently. The interest rate has also dropped. It has dropped. Remember what I said to you. Whether it is fixed deposits, whether it is equity fund, whatever you are doing, it's simple. In simple layman terms, is that you are taking your money to give to the bank to do business, with the hope that at the end of the business year, they will pay you back. Now the question is this: and how does the bank do business? The bank takes your money, borrow to businessmen at a high interest rates. Those ones do business and return back to the bank. So, like we said, the economic factor in the society, you see how it's affecting everybody. It's spread around like a fire. So previously, getting your money to fixed deposit was a sure guarantee. It is still sure in the sense that you won't lose your principal at least, but the interest rate sometimes is very low. I mean, a client was saying sometime last month that the bank was promising at least 1% or less than one. Yes, because they can't promise more than what they can give, and there is no guarantee that they will even make more money from it.
Okay, now let's look at the judiciary. Like you said, now, where do we go from here? Since you said that a lot of people have not been convicted on this,
Yeah.
then what's the position of the law? What's the real position of the law on this Ponzi?
This is the hardest part of this interview today. Okay. I'll give now. Let me rephrase your question in a in a legal way and put it as an issue for determination. Now, the question is this: can the money invested in a Ponzi scheme be recovered?
Yes.
So I have been duped by look at the word I've always used to describe them: illegal financial operator. Now, in certain jurisdictions like the USA and others, what we call the Securities and Exchange Commission, like we have in Nigeria. Now, where there is an identified Ponzi scheme, what the SEC does is to file a suit against such companies, at the courts, and then set up what we call a trustee, a company that will administer whatever money they've recovered and try to return it back to the creditors. Now, in Nigeria, there's a different ball game, very different ball game, because the position of the law in Nigeria is that money invested into Ponzi schemes cannot be recovered. And the reason why it cannot be recovered is based on the principle of law that the Nigerian court has said in many instances that the courts cannot aid an illegality. Remember, the contract you have entered into with the Ponzi scheme is based on illegality.
Oh.
Because the company is an illegal entity. Therefore, whatever contracts or whatever business you've done with them is based on illegality. So the court has this principle that at all times, once there is an issue for determination before them, especially over a business deal, once there is any track and trace of illegality in that business, the court will hands off. Because the court, so you have entered into an illegal business, and in this instance, ignorance of the law is not an excuse. You see why this program is very, very important for people to know their rights. And this is what has aided many of these guys to go scot-free in most instances. So if you sue them to court, the basis of your contract with them is founded on illegality. So I'll give you an example of a case. There's a case of Ochidi and others versus CBN and others, 2018, a very recent case. The court held that for the purpose and in the eyes of the law, any transaction between parties from the beginning that was clearly not only prohibited by law, but also illegal, whether the parties knew or are ignorant of the law, is no defense or excuse. So what this simply means is that contract is illegal from the beginning. The transaction between the two parties would not have vested the claimants with any legal right that is recognizable and enforceable by law. So if you take your money and enter into an illegal contract with any illegal financial operator that had promised you massive returns, the contract upon which it is based is illegal. The guy has no right to carry out that business. What you have entered into with that guy is an illegality. When you go to the court, there is this maxim of law that we say that you cannot put something on nothing and expect it to stand. Mm-hmm. So it must be based on something. It is based on illegality. So what we have seen happen in Nigeria is that people who have been duped by Ponzi schemes, the only remedy they seem to have is the police, the EFCC, and the ICPC. And what can these guys do for you? Arrest the person, and it becomes a criminal matter. Once it becomes a criminal matter, what can happen is that the person will go to jail. But the issue of recovery of your money is a problem, because the issue of restitution is still not restitution is simply means taking the money back from that person and giving to them. It's an option the court can make such an order in the criminal matter for restitution, but it's not. Most of these guys are clever in the sense that I know of a case currently at the IST. More than one cases or two cases I've done there. By the time you get to these guys, I'm talking about the Ponzi guys, the money is gone. Because they live lavish lifestyle, because obviously they're making illegal money. So by the time you get to them, arrest them with the EFCC, the police, the special fraud unit, what can you get from them anymore? They've wasted money on properties, flashy lifestyle, and other stuff. So it becomes a problem. And that is why we are saying to people, it's like buying a land. Investment is like buying a land. Do your due diligence. Get the expert involved. So that at the end of the day, you won't have to cry and lament the way many people are lamenting. I'm sure if you go to the Investment and Securities Tribunal, there's one that sits in Ikeja, that's in Lagos here, one sits in Port Harcourt, and in different geopolitical zones, you will find plenty investors lamenting in the courtroom. Why? Investments, I've seen people who invested their gratuity. I've seen people who invested their life savings. I have seen people who go as far as borrowing money from families, friends, and relations. Just because these things become so lucrative in your eyes, the first one you got interest from it. So you go and tell all your family members to bring in their money. They now make you the point man. You put all of it into it, and the guys disappear. So I mean, it's a serious issue, and I think the federal government needs to take more drastic steps. This idea of amending the ISA to ensure that it becomes a criminal matter for 10 years, I think it's even a less sentence. So government needs to be more proactive about this to help the people.
Okay, now I've been a victim of this about many years back.
Many people.
And since then, I've stopped all this. If in fact, tell your story. I'm not interested. But from what you said now, if one of these guys who is into Ponzi have a very good lawyer, can the reverse be the case? Maybe me taking him to court. Can the charge turn against me? Because some people will say that the way we operate our system in the judiciary, that is not clear. That if he has a very good lawyer, can the charge turn against me in any way?
No, I mean it's a civil case. It's a civil case. So when you say charge applies only to criminal cases. So if you sue for recovery of your money, like I just simply said to you, the court will wipe its hands off it to say to you that what you entered into is an illegal contract, and this court has no place for enforcing illegality. Now, where he brings up this defense or not is for him to say, because I mean, and I cannot guarantee you to say this is going to be the permanent position of the court, because it depends on the judge who is hearing the matter. The judge could hear you based on equitable ground, and because if the guy wants to bring the defense of illegality, that you enter into an illegal contract, what the court might also do, and which I suggest every reasonable court should do, is I agree there's an illegal contract, right? But none of the parties should benefit from the illegality. So I cannot benefit, he should not benefit. So in that instance, what should have been my benefit was to get high return of investment on interest, right? So that part should be expunged. My principal sum should be returned back to me. So he should not benefit and take my principal sum away from me. That would have been an interest or a benefit to him of an illegality.
Okay. Now, as a lawyer, what will you advise? How do I protect myself?
Okay, so many ways. I will tell you, I have raised the issue of due diligence. That's the first point. Let's also not be quick to dispel that every investment scheme is a fraud. Not every investment scheme is a fraud. Remember, I said there is the original. So that simply means there are still people regulated, licensed, and supervised by the CBN and the SEC and other agencies that carry out investment portfolio business. The only difference is that they might not have large interest rates for you, but so that's where basic investment awareness needs to come in. Be aware of the kind of investment you are going into.
Okay.
Secondly, I would say understand your risk profile. You need to understand that before you get into such kind of business, understand the risk involved in it. Take out your time, study your risk profile. Then set realistic returns on your investment goals. Do not just sit back and say, I put in 100,000 every week, I'm going to make 1 million. It's not realistic. So those are the things you need to also check. I also advise that also choose a reputable investment company. Remember, I said that it's the original, and that's why these fake guys have come in. So you like I said, you can go to the SEC websites. You will find registered capital market operators. Their names are all listed there. Once that company is registered, and what this SEC has done is that every year these companies are required to renew their license. So what that simply means that if they have had any bad image or something in the previous year, it will be renewed. So for them to be renewed by the SEC every year simply means they're in good standing. So, like I said, the due diligence you must get experts. It's like buying land, because you are putting in your money. Get those who are the experts. Talk to them. Tell them, I've gotten this proposal to invest so amount of money at this rate. What do you think? They will do a legal opinion for you. They will tell you. They will do their tracing for you. If this guy is licensed, if this is in good standing, and so you know what to do before you get into it. Those are the ways I think people can protect themselves.
Okay, now having said this, now I will come from another angle. looking at in Nigeria, where we have a lot of educated people out there and who are desperate to succeed, what again will be your advice to a lot of them? Because so many of them will be listening to us right now.
I know people. I know people want to succeed. Everybody wants to make money.
Sure.
Everybody wants, and the easiest way to make money, like we said, is that you can invest your way out of poverty. Now, on the part of those who want, or in both ways, I'll come from the part of the investor and the part of the portfolio managers. It's at times people sit down and create different schemes. I'm sure you heard about the agro investors. People tell you bring your money to farm and other stuff. I have a friend. She lives in the US now. I mean, millions of her money were poured into a very popular one. I almost called the name now. And as I'm speaking to you now, as a lawyer, I have been chasing that company. I can't find that company in Lagos. I can't find any of the directors. I can't find any trace to them. As I'm talking to you now, any trace. I have written a series of letters to the last known address. Nowhere. Nobody can be found. So, like I said, due diligence is very important. And do you know why she invested in that company? A very popular celebrity she follows advertised that company. And she said, when I was speaking to her, I said to her, you are an educated person. Why would you invest so millions of naira into this business without asking any question? Do you know what she said to me in response? She said, she mentioned the guy's name, this celebrity. She said, I trust him. I follow him, and because I see him as somebody trustworthy, I don't believe he will be part and parcel of people that would advertise fake products. And this is also a note of caution to our Nigerian celebrities. Please and please, before you advertise or promote any business, carry out your due diligence too, because the law is developing, and I mean it for serious. The law is developing. Nigerian law is developing to a standard whereby you can be vicariously liable for whatever those companies have done because you promoted them and you have misrepresented it to people. So because you're a celebrity, I know in India and some parts of the world, in the US, it is a strict liability offense for such celebrities because the people look at you. People are weak. If, for example, now people follow you because you're a music star, a movie star, you're a pastor, whatever you are, and people say, because my pastor is promoting this thing, I will invest in it. Because of my favorite artist is in this business, I'll follow them. So when those things fail, I believe people have a case to go after those people who sold those ideas to them. Because whether we like it or not, you have misrepresented to them. Because in most adverts, the person will say to you, I am doing it and I have received my own share. Try it out. So in essence, you have already convinced them. And when those things fail, they will have a likely case against you. And I'm going to see very soon, we will have such cases in court. Because I know I'm trying to do one, and people are saying to us we won't succeed, but we will test it in the courts. Because if we get to sue that celebrity for promoting that agro business that failed, let's see what the court will say to us. Because we can't find the other people. The only person we can find is you that told us on the billboards, on social media, and everywhere that these people are trustworthy and that we should go into that business. That's what has happened. And I'm sure the court will do something about it.
Okay, and that's the much we can take on this program. Our time is fast spent. Thank you very much for coming on the program. We hope to see you when next we call on you because, like you said, the law is developing and this policy is on the high.
It is on the high. Okay. And hopefully, I'm sure the government will do something. And by the time we get judicial pronouncement on these things, everybody will be careful, both the investors, both the celebrities who promote this, and even those who promote these businesses.
Yes, we do a lot and get away with it in this country, and hopefully someday the law will be in place. And thank you for listening on the program. We'll be back again next week, Friday. It's 9:10 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Fridays. I am Anosike Chimezie, and also thank you to our producer Olumakaiye for pressing the right buttons. Join us again next week. From me is goodbye, and do enjoy your weekend.